Alright everyone, we start off today talking about the midterm elections. We're about 3 weeks out now, so they've drawn pretty close. You're getting to the point at which you got another week for October surprises. Really, not that much has materialized for the most part, other than bad economic data. Inflation, that report came in worse than expected. That's the last full, economic report you're getting other than the Q3 numbers. The Atlanta Fed says that they'll be slightly positive, which would be a godsend for the Democrats. I don't think that it's really going to mean anything, though, and I challenge whether that's actually true. You could have flat growth. You could have like 0% or 0.1 or something. That's not going to necessarily be good either. If it comes in below that 0.7, the news will be the same as inflation. Well, it's better than it could be, but it's not really that good. At this point, it's safe to say in my mind the Democrats will lose the House of Representatives in the midterm elections. What margin they lose it by is the real guessing game. I'm still holding to 30 seats net as a swing, which is pretty beefy. I think that it'll be more blunted than it would otherwise be in some elections because literally orange man bad. The vestige of Trump looms large over the midterms. Will he make his comeback? Well, if you're a MAGA fan, then that really gets you to the polls. If you've got TDS, it also gets you out to the polls. The Democrats don't have any other platform at the moment to run on. We also have the Senate to consider. This is, in my mind, still closer to a 50-50 sum game. I give slight credence to the idea of the GOP picking up a seat or two, but I think it'll be close. I don't think Gingrich is correct when he says, well, we'll probably see a 6-seat gain. It's possible. The numbers are there to make that argument if you've got a massive polling swing. If the Republicans come in 5 points ahead of expected, then yeah, that would be the result. It'd be legendary. I am much more conservative in my guessing. Gubernatorial slots, I now favor the GOP to pick up 2 or 3 seats. So again, down ballot at the state level, they, I think, do well. So then we have to analyze something else. Who will the Democrats blame when they lose the midterms? I think that anything short of a massive red wave, a crushing defeat, will once again, like with past elections, not, this is unfortunate, not compel them to do a real soul-searching and to really reformulate the way they do things. Having Pelosi lose the gavel for an unprecedented second time will definitely nudge some Democrats in that direction. The problem is the ones that talk about reforming the party happen to be the far-left Democrats, especially in the progressive caucus within the House. Their idea of reform is dragging the party closer to socialism, and this is rejected by the average independent voter for obvious and good reasons. So now we've got to talk about who they're going to blame when they lose the House. That's virtually certain. It's exceptionally likely that they lose at least 1 gubernatorial slot, and I think better than 80% odds that they lose 2 or 3. And they've got slightly less than a 50-50 chance of maintaining the Senate. So they're going to lose. I don't think by a large enough margin to do soul-searching, but I think they lose. So then they'll blame somebody. They have a track record of doing this. Their idea of autopsying the midterms will be, who caused us to lose? It's not because we helped fuck up the economy. It's not because as a party we're all over the place and a lot of our candidates are kind of lackluster, to the point where Huma Abedin is keeping, the door slightly open to a potential presidential or other political run in the future and would oddly be in the top half of candidates. Fucking Huma Abedin, former Clinton staffer, never been in office. Anthony Weiner, her husband, is a pedophile. She would be more viable than more than half of the people that are potentially runners in the upcoming slew of elections, 24, 26, etc. I think that here's a list of different people, and it depends on the Democrats. Some of them will blame one party more than others. You'll have people throwing one another under the bus. Biden is a big one, obviously. A lot of Democrats have distanced themselves from his existence, and they're not calling on him to come and campaign for them. It's funny, the other day there was news Obama is going to be barnstorming for some candidates in the wee hours before the midterms. Biden notably not mentioned within the context of this. There are far fewer Democrats that want Joe to show up than Barack to show up. I fucking wonder why. If I were running as a Democrat, I'd say, yeah, Obama wants to come campaign for me. Relatively well-liked, comparably. Yeah, he can show up, but God, please don't bring Joe along. Maybe Booty Judge. Bring Jill Biden. She's more popular, and she's a goddamn roaring bigot. So I think Biden will be a big one. And they'll point to hindsight 2020. Despite all the bluster and bravado about we're going to keep the House, we're going to take the Senate, we're going to ban the assault rifles and do this, that, and the other thing. They don't really believe that. They'll say, well, it was always a foregone conclusion. After all, repeatedly in elections in the past, when the president's underwater, they always lose House seats. It's just a matter of the proportion that they lose. Biden is definitely lower tier when it comes to sitting presidents in the first terms, midterms. I think he's the second lowest at the moment. Ergo, you would expect a considerable House loss. It may trickle into Senate races. It may trickle down ballot to the states. Biden will be the big one. Well, I distanced myself from Joe because we have differences of opinion on economic issues. Stuff like that. Some of them will dogpile him and throw him under the bus, which is why the Republicans will probably impeach him after the midterms when they have the House. It should be expedited and it should be done quickly, although there are a few other issues they should tackle first before they get into impeachment proceedings. Countering J6 makes sense. Trying to get rid of the student loan debt bullshit, that would be definitely on the front burner, I think, if they're wise. Pivoting back to education, investigating CRT, that's a winning issue the Republicans have unwisely backed off of. We'll see what they do, by the way, when they control the House. Will they flub it or will they do something meaningful? They're Republicans, so maybe I'm not as optimistic as I would otherwise be, but I do have hope in the new crop of MAGA candidates at the very least to try to get the party to do its job. Get rid of Mitch McConnell as Speaker. Anyway, Biden's number one. I think OPEC and Saudi Arabia, link in the description archived, of course, they're already prepping to blame the Saudis. Well, did the Saudi Arabians just hand the midterm elections to the Republicans? They're going to basically go with a pseudo line of foreign election interference. The odd part being that they probably won't bring up, as directly related to that, the fact that the real attempt to influence the elections was Joe Biden contacting them and asking them to delay their reduction in oil output until after the midterms. Yeah, there's definitely foreign interference. It was by Joe Biden asking for a political kickback. That won't be in the coverage if that's covered at all. OPEC at large, of course, will be mentioned. The far left will get dogpiled. Centrist Democrats, those that corporate Dems, the core neoliberal crowd, union Dems, they'll say, well, the party is out of order. We've got all of these socialists here. We've got Bernie, we've got AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, etc. And they keep saying things that are totally off the wall. And my constituents are, union Democrats. They don't want socialism. They just want a living wage, and that's why I lost. You'll then see leftoids, if they lose, they'll blame the corporate Dems. They'll say, well, the Democratic Party has gotten away from its principles of liking small businesses and union members and stuff. Now they just suck corporate cock, and that's why we lost. There's going to be a lot of blame gaming going on. Everyone will pretend that their hindsight was 2020. The people that aren't making any predictions about these things now will suddenly seem like Nostradamus because they'll say, well, remember that time I made a comment 6 months ago saying that it looked bleak. I wonder who Schumer is going to blame, by the way. You could end up in a situation where Chuck Schumer has power in the Senate and Pelosi doesn't have power in the House, and then they have to reformulate their relationship because right now she leads him around like a little lost puppy. And that's definitely going to be one of the funny things about the election fallout if that happens. It's almost like, hey, if the Dems do take the Senate by a seat or something, at the very least we get to see Chuck Schumer partially restored to testicular function in his dysfunctional relationship a la Nancy Pelosi. I think they lose big. I think Biden gets the main blame from most Dems. But I think there will be a lot of leftist versus, union and neoliberal infighting, squabbling. We did see this in 2020 and 2018 and 2016 as well. That's become the new paradigm within the Democratic Party. And then you'll have secondary issues. At the end of the day, though, the real reason why they lost will be they didn't have a coherent platform. It's the economy, stupid. The economy sucks, and the Democrats are getting flack for that. And tangential to that, I'd say the border crisis. I don't think crime plays a big role because think about where crime is really rising. It's in solid blue areas anyway due to fiscal mismanagement mostly. I think that's being overestimated. The Republicans really should have pivoted more heavily back to defending education against wokeness. That was a winning issue. Now they break even on it. It's still better than the Republicans have done historically on education. But really, they pissed away a good gift there. They should have shoveled that into their platform heavily. Only a handful of Republicans, mainly at the gubernatorial level, still doing that. People like Abbott, people like DeSantis, they're reaping the rewards. I don't know what the federal level Republicans are doing by giving that up. So I do predict that the Democrats will lose the House. I think there's a slightly better than 50-50 they lose the Senate. I would say a pickup, maybe 2, would be my break even. And I think that the Democrats fare poorly in the gubernatorial sense as well. If you have a polling swing of even 2 points, you end up with an extra slot in the gubernatorial sense, probably 5 extra House seats, massively outsized. That's probably the threshold at which you can call it a true red wave. 35 House seat pickups, taking the Senate, even if by a seat, having more than 2 gubernatorial pickups. If that happens, or the Republicans outperform even more, as a 5-6 point swing, we have seen those in recent elections, then the blame game will change a little bit. It'll be all firepower aimed at Biden at that point among the Democrats. They will coalesce and solidify and do an autopsy, and they will find Biden to be the one that caused their problems. You watch. They'll throw him under the bus if the Republicans outperform. That's about all. Peace out.